The pixel hate is not reasonable. On paper, the Google Tensor G5 and the 2025 Pixels are the same or slightly better than the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 of late 2021 or 2022 flagship devices. The confusing part about this, even though this one has the Tensor G4 in it, is that the Google Pixel 9 is still really good. Hello everyone, this is Matt from Real World Review here with a great Pixel device, but for those that hate on these phones, don't worry, it's not perfect. But since I brought it up, let's talk about the internals of the phone. Like I said, this has the Tensor G4 chip in it with 12GB of RAM and 128GB of UFS 3.1 storage, which matches the Pixel 9 Pro just with 16GB of RAM on that one. This goes to 256GB of storage, while the Pro has a 1TB option. This launches apps quickly, and gaming is actually pretty good on here, ironically benching and having some games where the chip actually has better graphic capabilities over the Pixel 10 series, which has the Tensor G5. And yes, I know the Pixel 10a's name is actually the Pixel 9a Gen 2, because I said so. But seriously, I have no problems even with heavy gaming, but it does get hot. I'm also using this during the summer, and we gotta remember all phones get hot. That's generally why most companies launch their phone near the end of summer or into the fall. That said, it does get warm easily, but not to the point of overheating, just maybe some screen dimming. Battery life is still great, but I can tell you that after almost 300 charge cycles, this isn't the beast that it was when it was new, which is why I like to test phones with actually used batteries. This 4700 mAh battery cell will get you through the day, but that's kind of about it. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking until I looked at the battery life of when I got this phone new in 2024, and here on this phone, almost 2 years later, we have a very small battery difference, being 97% capacity. So sure, it has degraded, but it's still really good with battery life, at least in my use cases comparing these two different phones. Charging is good with 27 watts of wired and 15 watts of wireless charging if you have the Pixel stand, or 12 watts of wireless normally, and the option for reverse wireless charging, something that the Pixel 10 series can't do for why. I know it's because of the magnets, but still. I personally saw this charging at 21 watts or higher in my testing, and it seems to charge fast on normal chargers, but 17 to 21 watts of wireless charging is what most Pixels do as of the Pixel 6, so it's kind of strange that they changed it on this one, but it's also a very niche thing. Size-wise, this is a 6.02 inch tall phone that sits at 198 grams and is kind of noticeable. It's also IP68 dust and water resistant, but for how long with all of that heat? Connectivity-wise, we get Bluetooth 5.3, Wi-Fi 7, satellite connectivity, and 5G ultra wideband if you have this antenna right here. Speaking of, the top has that antenna and a microphone hole, while the left side has nothing, and the right side is where the power and volume buttons are. On the bottom, we have the loudspeaker that pairs with the earpiece loudspeaker for a stereo feel and good quality, as well as the SIM tray that the 10 series doesn't have, but sometimes does, another microphone, and that USB-C 3.2 port. This matte aluminum frame is sandwiched between two pieces of glass, both being glossy, and the rear one having a huge aluminum piece for the camera area. Fun fact, the Pixel 6, 7, and 8 are glass, but with a plastic piece on the top, while this is the first all-glass based Pixel since the Pixel 4. Given the design is close to the Pixel 9 Pro, I wonder if you can swap the backs to get a matte frame and back instead of this mess. Anyways, there's a camera glass cover for both cameras and the laser autofocusing unit, as well as a microphone hole here, and a simple flash in the middle. Iconic. On the front, just like the back, we get flat glass. This covers the 6.3 inch 1080p flexible OLED panel that runs at 120Hz and gets crazy bright at over 1200 nits in manual mode, but peaks at 1800 nits in high brightness mode or 2700 nits in direct sunlight. You will definitely not have a problem with seeing the screen in the light. Or in general, the quality is actually really good and makes you wonder how they made this 1080p screen look so good, even though a Pixel 6a screen should technically look better and sharper, but it doesn't. This and the back are covered by Gorilla Glass Victus 2, but I still have a tempered glass screen protector on here, and it's actually pretty great because the fingerprint scanner, the ultrasonic one, still works great. It doesn't really need it though, because just like the Pixel 8, Face Unlock can allow you to use secured apps like banking. Now on paper and in benchmarks, it's kind of a weak phone with some amazing features like the screen and battery, but outside of that, you have specialty things. For one, this runs Android 17, which as of writing this, no other phone has, which is probably not true by the time I publish this. But still, you're buying this phone for the newest Android, until 2031 at least. You're buying it for AI features like screen calling, and I'll be honest, I don't really know half of the AI features that are in this phone. Furthermore, in less than a year, I think the Pixel Studio is just done. It forces you to use Gemini now, which is kind of a problem for those that want to make stickers. At least that's what I've heard. I'm not even gonna lie though, I can't really tell you how to use any of these AI features or what they do, because like normal, we think that we want AI, but then everyone becomes like me, only using Gemini and not even using the screen calling feature. What I do use, and is the second reason to buy a Pixel, is the camera. The Pixel 10 changed this, but the Pixel 9 has the same cameras as the Pixel 9 Pro, with the exception of two sensors, one being the front camera. This 10.5 megapixel focusable sensor seems to be the same one that's on the Pixel 8 Pro, which is kind of a great thing to see as the quality isn't that bad. It's still a small front camera sensor, but this and 4K 60 frames per second video capture allows for a great look. Then on the back, we have the 48 megapixel ultra-wide sensor that is focusable, allowing for not only macro shots, but also much sharper photos in general. I think this pairs well with the main camera, which is a 50 megapixel sensor with optical image stabilization and overall just amazing quality. I will say it seems to mess with the sky colors to make it pop more because these landscape shots just look amazing, whether you have Ultra HDR on or off. Also for once, the video actually looks pretty great, capturing 4K 60 frames per second on all of these sensors, and no, there is no 8K video or video boost in general. But none of that really matters because these shots are just great. Having a 2x crop is cool, but a dedicated telephoto would have been nice to have, but that's why you'd buy the Pro version. And that's why this phone is so good. As much as I would prefer the 9 Pro, there aren't really many differences. Sure, slightly better and higher resolution screen, a dedicated telephoto camera, better front camera, barely better wireless charging, and more RAM, with AI and camera tweaks to follow it. I'm really thinking hard trying to figure out what that $200 MSRP price difference is, but then in the used market, the 9 Pro costs more than the 9 Pro XL that costs more than the 9. It's because when the phones came out, there were better deals for the 9 and 9 Pro XL that the 9 Pro and Fold didn't get. But at $100 more or so, the 9 Pro actually feels like a better deal, but only if you absolutely need that 5x telephoto camera in that smaller size. But if you don't, the Pixel 9 is still great. I ended up using this phone for another 2 weeks and I just didn't want to switch. Besides an iPhone, this feels like the only phone that I would want to actually use in this sizing, even though something like the S25 or even the S24 from Samsung would solve. Instead, just like an iPhone, you pick the Pixel because of the software. In that sense, if you like the Samsung software, this isn't for you. I find that to be a common pain point in people looking for the Pixel or hating it, that or obviously the bugs. Now look, I've had some weird graphical glitches on my Pixel Fold and maybe a reboot or two on the Pixel 9 Pro XL, but I think I'm very lucky because look at my channel, so many phones that I've reviewed and I've never had issues with Pixels. Heck, I gave the Pixel 6 Pro to someone that lived with me just on a different carrier and they had so many problems with that phone in that same area that I was using it, but I didn't. Yes, this is processor fabbed by Samsung, however you would say that, but you know what? Samsung Foundry was used for every single Pixel device besides the 10 series, so not the 9A Gen 2, and the Pixel 4 and 4 XL. Different modems, sure, but these processors have been bad because of Samsung since day one, not the Pixel 6. The modem, however, again, your mileage may vary because on T-Mobile in a populated area like California, my phone has no problems. With the Pixel 10 declining and having a bunch of cost cutting to basic things, I will say that in my opinion, this ended up being the best base Pixel so far. And that's my review of the Pixel 9, my favorite base Pixel. But what do you think? Is the Pixel 10 actually good? Let me know, and as always, thanks for joining the 1% and thanks for watching.